Hey guys, all right, we are live now on, I think, everything.
Wow, we are live.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Instagram should be up. Is it not? Oh, they changed this start bar. There we go.
All right. Sorry, we're
Okay.
getting some new product stuff that we wanted to talk about set up. Uh, yes, it's always helpful feedback from the viewers.
Peanut gallery.
Um, well,
Oh, I was talking to just Nick, not the viewers. The viewers are great.
yeah, don't call our viewers a peanut gallery. Welcome everyone to
50?
50. Wow.
Oh,
We need like the fake applause sound. 50 is
to hire a better producer for that.
means we started these almost a year ago. So I think next week we'll have
I think we only missed one.
we missed one.
I
I think just one, to be honest.
so you were on vacation for one, and then I was out for one, so maybe two.
Anyways, it's about a year.
Something like that.
COVID
It's a lot of stuff to remember for our advanced.
COVID started a year ago, and here we are. But these have been awesome for us. From a company marketing standpoint, we get to talk about our products. We get to talk about the company. You guys get to see who's behind a lot of what goes on here. Certainly, we're 2 out of about 50 people that make 034 Motorsport run, and it's been great to interact with you guys to figure out what's important to you, what are you interested in. I can say for sure that the questions and the comments you guys make have definitely impacted our engineering focuses.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Products
real-time
applications.
feedback on what we're working
Yeah.
on. So.
So yeah, no, it's been great. So here's to 50 more. But we'd like to keep it going, and if they've been helpful for you guys, they've definitely been helpful for us as well. So we really appreciate it. On Friday, a number of us were at Big Willow racetrack in Lancaster. I think that's the home of the Malacca Motorsports gentlemen.
Yep.
Yeah, they were apparently neck deep in a VR6 swap, so they didn't have time to come visit us. But yeah, we had a great day with Turn 8 track events. So shout out to Turn 8 if you're in California or the West Coast in general. I know they do events
Yeah,
all up and down the
we've done a
state.
handful of them now, and
Yeah.
that's always been a really well-run, well-organized show.
Yeah, it was very well run. Just a lot of cool cars, not necessarily Volkswagen Audi focused. There's a number
It's
of
a huge
BMWs.
spread, yeah.
Yeah. There was some like SQ5 out there,
Some
like passing
knucklehead
Hondas
brought
and
an
racers.
SUV.
Yeah, some more like I was driving in. Yeah, no. So we had a great day. We did testing on the R8. So we have our whole Dynamic Plus R8 package that we were testing, which includes a full suspension treatment as well as exhaust and some other parts, wheels, and then our SQ5 was running our new 3.0 T B9
Our SQ5,
tuning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not
It
an
is.
RSQ5.
Yeah. Yeah, it was running our tuning.
Yep.
And that the testing went very well. It's producing great power. It was reliable.
Yep. Did all the things it should have done.
We got it hot, hotter than you could get it on the street, on the track, and the ECU adjusted for heat and load and all that stuff. So it was great, and then we also had our Stage 2 GTI Mk7 GTI out there.
Yep.
Just continue to test various products and some changes to the tuning that we're making. So overall, a very productive day. There's this kind of sentiment that we see sometimes that because we're at the track, that orders aren't shipping or nobody's responding to customer service. So rest assured, on Friday, the engineering and marketing were at the track. Shipping was fully staffed, manufacturing was fully staffed, customer service was fully staffed. There were no changes there. So we do have 50 employees, and it's not like Nate and I are out
Well, and that's
there
just
shipping
here.
orders.
We've also got other guys in our other that are doing fulfillment as well.
Yeah, and then we do a lot of fulfillment through MP. So MP, the entire company of MP, was not at the track either. So I'm not sure I understand. Maybe you guys think there's 8 people here, and so yes, if 6 of us were at the track and there was only 8 people
That would
here,
impact
then
things
the operations
quickly,
would
yeah.
shut down. But we have an engineering department, we have a marketing department. They operate separately outside of sales and customer service and shipping and fulfillment and all that stuff. So, but for us, testing these products, taking them to the track is part of our customer service.
Oh yeah, it's a huge
efforts.
part of our R&D and test cycles.
If we don't test this stuff, we don't go to the track and break it and fix it and break it and make sure that it's not 100% of what it can be, then you guys are going to need customer service later on when these parts don't hold up or they don't do what we say.
Yep.
And you're pissed off and upset because the part or tune you bought wasn't properly tested. So this is very important. Going to the track is very fun. But honestly, for us nowadays, it is a job.
It's very much work these days.
I had a great time on Friday, but it is work, and we have to drive certain cars and do certain test procedures, to make sure that we're fulfilling our engineering and R&D requirements. So this isn't just us going to the track and having fun.
Day off.
It's actually work, and everyone's getting paid that's there, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's a critical part of what we do at 034 Motorsport. A lot of other companies don't do this type of testing. And, I think it shows in their products. So,
Yeah.
All right. MQB E30 E40 tuning, where's that at?
This on our rotating like ETAs list.
Uh-huh.
It is coming up. As Javad mentioned, we were doing some more Mk7 calibration work at the track, just kind of in preparation for that. I've got some newer calibrations that'll be coming down the pipeline for this, and this is all kind of part of that. So this was still on 91 at the time, but the E-blends are coming.
Yep. Do you offer upgraded turbo systems for the Mk6 GTI? We do have
No, not on the Mk6. We don't. Not at this time.
the R400 kit.
Nope.
Oh, that's for a Golf R. No,
It is Golf R. That is Mk6 Golf R.
it's Mk6 Golf R. Okay.
Yeah, which is
Okay, so we do not have a turbo kit for the Mk6. I don't see us doing that at this point.
no. I mean,
There's stuff out there, but that's gotten to be an older application for us to put that much R&D into. We are working on various options for the Mk7 MQB, chassis, but including KO4 and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I don't think we will. Stage 2 Plus 93 tune, 57 189 pulleys, test pipes, throttle, heat exchanger, HPFP. What options are there to prevent heat soak at the track after a heat exchanger? Would a smaller crank pulley produce more power due to efficiency? I mean, turning down the boost would...
yeah, I mean,
lower
running
heat.
a lower pulley ratio will help that. It's always a trade-off. Really depends what you're doing. And when you say track, is that road course, drag strip?
It sounds like road course.
If it's a road course, I would probably drop to like a 179 pulley, which I mean, I've had my setup out on track with basically the same setup. The only other change, I had a CWA 100 water pump on the intercooler lines. Other than that, it was basically identical, and it was able to maintain. They weren't great air temps because it's a fairly compromised system, but it was doing pretty well.
Are they running... when they're on E40?
Somebody deleted.
Oh, that was on 93. E40 could help.
Yes,
right?
E40 will
'Cause,
help a lot.
It pulls a lot of heat out of the combustion.
Yeah, it helps for just a lot of that knock control and side effects that come along with a higher intake charge and higher intake temps, and it can certainly cope with that situation better than 91 or 93.
So I would recommend move to E40 blend.
Even if it's for just at the track stuff, it's going to get you in a better place with those air temps.
Yeah. I mean, beyond that, the intercoolers are the problem. At that, when you max out everything else, getting enough, there's just not enough capacity. They're not big enough to support
Sustained.
really high. That when the supercharger is producing higher boost less efficiently, they're not going to do that. So if you can lower your boost down,
Yep.
you will have more
Mechanically too. You can't just like run a stage 2 file and bleed off boost and think it's going to run cooler.
No, because it's still producing heat.
Yeah, you have to drop your pulleys down.
Yeah. But running lower boost, the car will be faster, more reliable.
Yeah.
And but if you're kind of doing like a time attack setup where you want to go do like one good lap, then you can do it.
Yeah.
You can get away with it.
Yeah. No, we're
for one
talking
lap.
like sustained lap after lap.
Yeah. It becomes a problem.
Load.
Honest opinions on Malacca Motorsports VR6 swapped RS3. Well, we've talked about this a little bit. I think there's a previous clip on it. I mean, I've talked to them about it and why they did it. I think my honest opinion is good for them. They're doing something that they want to do. It's their car, and they're having fun with cars, so that's awesome. They had some frustrating experiences in the past trying to do what they wanted to do with the DAZA, and so I think a big part of this was them moving to a motor and platform that they have control over, which good for them.
And not to say they couldn't have with the DAZA, but they wanted to do their own thing. They wanted to.
They also want to do something different, and 6 is bigger than 5, so that's irrefutable mathematically. But so Stav has been taking standalone ECU tuning courses, which is great. He's been learning. George has learned how to weld and fabricate. So everything on the car they're doing themselves now, for the most part, and they can take it to the track. They'll be able to control the tuning. Any issues, they won't be relying on someone else for that. And when you really start pushing things that far as they have, when you're running 9s or 8s and you're making 1,000 horsepower, you really can't be relying on other people who aren't there to. This isn't the kind of. You don't prep 1,000 horsepower Audi and then go to the track, and expect to drive it like it was a GT3 RS or something, So yeah, that's the direction they went. It's cool to see that the VR6 fits so well.
Yeah.
I understand.
I really enjoy the modularity that comes along with some of these platforms, and you find they're like big Legos when you get to the
stock RS3 AC system bolted right on, like brackets. Pump lines, everything fit right up. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, and I think there's been some custom parts. They found one of our old VR6 intake manifolds, which they're running, which is really cool. And they're running some of our parts, and I guess they're making the IE intake work. So it's a cool project. I think the thing for them is they have to do things that are interesting that makes people want to watch. They're trying to get views to their YouTube channel.
And also, it seems like it's a huge, personal growth, learning everything for definitely George and stuff. He's been posting a lot about his progress welding and fabricating, and it's all stuff like one better time to learn and really embrace that than building your own car.
And if you don't like it, I gotta warn you, they like it. They like that you don't like it, and so the more you complain about it, they're going to troll you.
You're just feeding the bear.
That negativity kind of plays into what they're trying to do, which the controversy, right? Like, I mean, look how many people are talking about Kim Kardashian's butt. That's controversial. There's literally right now 60 million people worried about what's going on with her butt, and and this is the kind of same thing that the Malaccas are doing. It's kind of sacrilege. It's a little sacrilege, which is perfect, and so they like it. So if you don't like it, go out and complain about it, and they will happily troll you back. But I talk to those guys a lot. They're really having fun, and that's what this is all about. At the end of the day, we can't get too worked up about what engine is supposed to be in what car. It's supposed to be fun. So. And that was kind of like, on the track on Friday. There's all kinds of cars, all kinds of people, and everybody seemed to be having fun, and that's what it's all about. Updates on ZF8 tuning for C7.
I was actually just talking about this with our calibration team this morning. We're working on it. Like I said, like I've been saying, it's likely going to be wrapped in with the B9 stuff because it's all going to be under the same ZF8 releases.
We're working on it. So I saw your TTE post on the Audizine RS3 thread. Is there any more information you can share? Yeah, so our in-house RS3,
Thread.
we did a built motor for it. So forged rods and pistons and sleeves,
Sleeve block.
and so
Stock head is all stock on it.
headstock. And so, we wanted to use this as an opportunity to kind of go to the next level. We're probably never going to pursue stage 3 builds and, like 1,000 horsepower, whatever, IMS type stuff. But the TTE is a popular turbo used by many, and we do get a lot of requests from our DAZA customers for those types of options. So for the time being, we will be building and tuning the car with that turbo. It's the 700, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that will result in some product and support for the TTE 700.
Yep.
And we're also using it as an opportunity to develop some kind of stage X DSG files as well that can rev to 8,000 or higher, and give big turbo guys in general what they're looking for.
Yep.
And we will be distributing that using DS1, because that's what a lot of people are looking for and want. So the car is back together. It just needs some time on the dyno for tuning. Definitely stay tuned. We're excited to have some fun with that. And Mark, our the head of engineering, hardware engineering. It's his daily driver. So I think he's a little excited to drive it.
I think he's ready.
Maybe just a little.
Yeah.
So if you live anywhere here or towards Hayward, just watch out for like a crazy maniacal RS3 on the roads.
Yep.
DS1 support for TC tunes. Yes, that's what we're doing with DAZA.
Yep. We talked with the guys at DS1, a little bit on kind of what the market needs for that. We don't foresee any problems taking care of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there will be high RPM DAZA support coming soon for TCU stuff.
Any future R&D on the RS3 tuning to have a low and high traction launch control?
Yes, there's a lot coming for that.
Mm-hmm.
We have our full advanced launch control suite basically is coming to that, where you'll be able to pick your launch RPM, launch load, and yeah, you'll have a lot of control over it. It's already in the works and working on our TTRS. So yeah, it won't be too much longer before we're in a position where we can release some of that.
Yeah, definitely hang in there. Actually, most of that's working, right?
Oh yeah. No, it's all working. We need to do more testing, get some more
testing
stuff done. But no, all the software's in there. It's all put together and working. So, yeah, there's a couple other features I want to add that kind of tie in with that TCU and high RPM shifting stuff, which we have a good plan for. But yeah, there'll be much more coming for that.
Yeah. Curious what CAD software you guys are using and how AI could potentially help with your testing process.
CAD software, we are a SolidWorks shop in start to finish, from concept through modeling, through flow testing, through machining. So it's SolidWorks and then SolidCAM on the machining side. So yep, AI.
I don't think anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. AI is such it's kind of a universal term, but
Yeah.
at that level, it's the amount of data, time, and effort put into each product to really kind of wrap an AI, system around it so that it would help us or assist us in any way in some of that design effort would likely be far outside the scope of what we'd be doing anytime in the near future.
Yeah, I do think, if I was dreaming or brainstorming, that eventually you could load, scan models of a certain part installed, showing the room and the envelope around that part, let's say a turbo inlet. And so you could scan it and you could load the AI with with certain types of design philosophies and technical, constraints. And then the AI would just design. It would design a 0 through 4 motorsport turbo.
And there's
consistent
there's
with
some of that in the market already. So I know Fusion Autodesk stuff will do. Trying to think of what they call it, but you can start basically you build out a very blocky model of what you're looking for, and then you can tell it to analyze. Given a set of loads to the part, it'll remove and perform a bunch of analysis on the part and the loading of that part, and you end up with a very organic. It ends up looking very organic, typically. Constructed part at the end of it, where it just removes the pieces that are kind of redundant and or aren't assisting in the loads at hand on the part. So, but that all requires, of course, you've got it fully modeled, you got everything constrained properly, and you're capturing all of that load in your model and in your part.
None of this stuff makes sense for a company our size. I think if you're like Audi, if you think about all the parts in a vehicle that have to be designed and engineered, you could throw AI at that, and you could reduce thousands and thousands of human hours and reduce massive amounts of payroll as well. And then over time, it would easily pay for itself. But for us to implement something like that here would just be way more work than it's worth.
And you always come back to, you can design anything, but you have to be able to manufacture it in a way that the market will bear. So, if we have this incredibly complex, organically shaped and derived part, then to machine that and clamp that and put that into
That's the beauty of AI.
a mill.
You
have to constrain all that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it would end up coming back, pretty similar, where we're kind of at now, where it has to be simplified to a point where it can be manufactured for a reasonable cost and perform the job we need it to perform.
It seems like most of that gets used in additive manufacturing.
Well, yeah, I mean, additive manufacturing will get you a lot more freedom, but then you pay for it with
it's much
the per part cost
more
is
expensive.
huge.
Yeah, it's all not there yet. I think in 20 years, I worry about this for my kids because, I mean, in a lot of ways, the jobs that exist now didn't exist 10, 20 years ago. So I don't know what, my kids are still young. My oldest kid's in junior high, but they're studying and learning towards some field or career that doesn't even exist yet, that will when they're my age. And so there's going to be a lot of change. AI is going to displace a lot of the type of jobs that we take for granted, including doctors, lawyers, anything that where you just need a little bit of knowledge and you can load an AI on how to do it. The AI will be able to do it much better and faster and more efficiently than a human.
Yep.
But
I mean, it's we're not at a point yet where you can just give it a simple problem and it'll figure it out. You've got to really constrain that environment.
Not yet. But in 5, 10, 15 years, that's going to be different. Right. And so, I guess my point with this is, you're either going to have to embrace the AI or be displaced. Embrace or displace,
Right.
Because there will be plenty of work for the people providing AI products and services. But yeah, if you think you're going to just hang in there and outdo the AI, it's obviously not everything will go AI, but
Right.
Not all doctors will be replaced, but probably 50% of them at some point, because you don't need to go talk to a doctor. You just load your symptoms into a database and it can scan, a lifetime. It would take a lifetime for a human to scan the amount of information that AI could scan in less than a second. So, anyways, that's a whole nother topic. Will you support other hybrid turbo kits for the Mk7 GTI and Golf R? We are looking into supporting EQT. Because that's basically, if we do anything, we're going to start with the most popular option.
Nick did some polls on this and
Right.
what people want, what's out there. So we're not going to try and forge a new road in this market. So we'll probably tackle the most common stuff that's out there already.
So hang in there. But I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that we could jump into, and
we're not short on work right now for calibration.
I mean, we could frankly use some AI up in here right now.
Right.
So
I need some more AIs.
get the AI on the dyno, tune some turbos, but yeah. MPI tuning for MQB.
Well, it comes along with that. That'll be a part of the,
Yeah.
the ethanol kits we're looking to do, and we'll be providing more and more support for the port injection on the MQB stuff as well.
We've been working on the hardware for that. Will you support TTE710 and Pure750 for B9S4 like other tuners? Yes, we are. We are immediately moving to the Pure750.
Yep.
And so we're finishing stage 1, stage 2, E85, and then we will 750 will be the next. The stock turbos, it's okay. It's limited to about 400 crank.
It's a
It's a KO4.
it's a little turbo on a 3 liter.
So stage 3 or these bigger turbo options are going to be critical for this platform.
Yep.
So
And we are fully intending on supporting it.
yeah, and we will support that, and we are working towards releasing our own hybrid in the future, which will be housings that can accommodate various, Garrett or Borg Warner or whatever turbos that are on the market. So.
Yep.
The RS3 tends to flutter when lift off throttle. Is this due to wastegate not big enough? On other VW Audi platforms, people tend to stay away from the flutter. Is it okay on the DAZA?
Okay, we should probably talk about sounds that cars make and what wastegates are and
Yeah.
what sounds wastegates make.
Yeah, so wastegates don't really make a sound. There's a big misconception that the Audi IMSA GTO and the Trans Am, back there used to be one here.
Yep.
That they would go. Well, that's not the wastegate. So that's turbo surge, and that's the compressor surging against a closed throttle body. So those cars specifically made that sound because Audi believed, and their philosophy was that they wanted to keep the pressure between the turbo and the throttle. They didn't want to bleed it off using a bypass. And so that's why those cars would make that sound. It's very hard on the turbo, and so they had designed and engineered turbos that would basically last one race before they needed to be rebuilt. And the thrust bearings and friction surfaces inside the turbo would be tortured by what happens. So what happens is you open the throttle. Air comes in through the turbo, combustion happens, it goes through the turbine, and everything spins up. And so the compressor starts making boost. And on the compressor wheel, between the compressor wheel and the intake valve, there's whatever boost. And I think those cars probably ran around 30 pounds of boost on track. So what happens is you have flowing pressure. We've talked about this before. There's not just pressure in your intake. There's pressure moving through your intake very rapidly. And that's why so much CFM is required from a turbocharger to make that much power. But the second you shut the throttle, that you now have flowing pressure that turns into static pressure. And the compressor wheel is spinning, and it's no longer being powered on the turbine side. So you have this 30 psi that hits the throttle, and it comes back through the compressor wheel, and the turbo actually spins backwards. But it's not a on or off thing, and so the turbo will go choo, 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 and as air bleeds back through the compressor wheel, it makes that fluttering sound. And so that's what you're hearing on your RS3 when you shut the throttle. The bypass valve isn't opening as fast as it could or should, and so you're hearing that fluttering, which is compressor surge, which is this pressure wave going back through the compressor wheel, out the turbo inlet, and then getting sucked back in and out as the fluttering happens. It's hard on the turbo. It's not great. That's why you have a bypass valve. I don't know, Nate. Can you comment on why the factory programs it that way? Or
Honestly, it depends. I don't know what intake is on the car, but frankly, what you're probably hearing is that bypass valve, and you're hearing that rush of air coming back through the bypass valve, which is then in the intake pipe, which is this far from your filter. So
I heard this on factory cars though, that
they
do for
flutter,
like a half a second.
Yeah, and there is some delay before that valve opens. So you are going to hear some of that, and depending on the tune, you can get surge on a lot of these turbos, which is basically It's the exact same effect, even if you're wide open throttle. If you're building too much boost for the turbo to sustain, you'll get a back surge of air, coming back across the turbo essentially,
Well, that's yeah.
You'll get a fluttering sound as boost is ramping up at low RPM.
Right, and the reason for that is there's not enough exhaust pressure to truly drive the compressor wheel to produce that boost, and so it starts producing boost, but there's not enough energy behind the turbine wheel, and then once you get to a certain RPM, there's enough flow to support that. But it's the turbo just kind of getting going.
So all turbos have a surge line, which is
right.
Basically that
you look at the
limitation.
If you look at the compressor map, there is a line on the left side.
Yep.
The second you drop below that, the compressor wheel cannot support the flow based on the turbine wheel energy at that flow on RPM. So,
but it's probably a combination of the sounds you're hearing on that when you lift. You're going to hear the discharge from the bypass valve. The turbo may be stalling a little bit depending on how quickly it interacts. It's not necessarily it's a little bit of that extra load I was talking about on the turbo, but usually it's a pretty quick situation.
It's not a problem. I wouldn't worry about it on these cars.
And you'll hear that factory, like you put an intake on these cars and a factory tune, you'll hear that. So they're doing it,
It's not necessarily a bad thing because Audi was right in those race cars. Is there's something to be said for keeping some of that pressure and not bleeding off immediately.
Right.
And if it's clear that you're not going to use it, then bleed it off. But if you're shifting, there's no reason to open that valve, and a split second.
You've got to recharge the entire intake.
It's worth it. But you notice this with these big tile 50 mil blow off valves. You go raw, it's all, and all the air comes out, and then the turbo's just and has to fill the whole intake back up. So, generally in race cars that we've built and designed, I've put smaller bypass and not bled off as much.
Right. You can tune them as well, usually so you have a kind of a residual amount of pressure left in the intake.
And that's what you can do with the tiles is you can put stiffer springs in so it only bleeds off so much of it and it does keep some.
And you can do that with the factory calibration as well because those are all targeted. It's electronically controlled bypass valve.
And that's another good argument for having short, efficient intake tracks without lots of big voluminous tubing. That's fine on the dyno. It can be okay drag racing, but it does take time to fill all of that up to achieve the certain.
We've talked about that a lot too. Is turbo sizing? It can look great on a dyno or a drag strip, and then when you actually try and drive it on the street or on a road course, you can be a lot slower at times because you've got a lot of inertia and a lot more.
But it might look great on the dyno sheet, and everyone's like, "Look, it spools up faster than stock."
Yeah, that's like a 2,000 RPM. They're sitting on it, and it's taking. You're not seeing the time it takes to spin.
In fourth gear, it's just really loaded up. Would you be willing to do a bundle discount for a super duper charger plus X34 for the B8? We should write that down. We can, we'll talk about it. I like the idea of doing more bundles. So if it means that you guys buy our stuff, if it's in a bundle, sure, why not? Any status on your RS3 Surge Tank kit? Yes.
Hey, look at that.
It's coming along. We happen to have one here. So this is it. It's the bottom and top caps screw together. This will be mounted in front of the brake assist reservoir in the engine compartment of either the TTRS or the RS3.
We're still validating right-hand drive fitment, but
yeah,
currently that's where we're living on our place.
And so this is what it looks like inside. And so this is the E5LM pump that's compatible, or will also be compatible with the Deechworks. The DW440, which is also a brushless pump. This pump should support 650, 700 horsepower without any kind of voltage manipulation, and the E5LM is over 1,000 horsepower. And then if you want to throw some voltage at either of these by ramping up the voltage going to the pump, they will flow substantially more. This pump is well documented to flow over 2,000 horsepower at 40 volts or something. So there are various controllers on the market, but most cars don't require that. Even a lot of the big big turbo, you know, can run off just this pump off the, you know.
Yep. Yeah, and
these both will. The Deechworks has its own controller, and I think we're still figuring out what we're going to be doing. But
yeah, I don't know.
I
don't know what yet we're going to be doing with that one.
Yeah, we'll be offering or
this pump's more of a, you know, bespoke high output application.
Yeah,
this is going to be our normal offering for most of the kits.
I don't think we'll be offering the pump because they're a pain to get and come by. A lot of you guys already have them in your fuel tank, so you could remove it from your fuel tank and put it up front. The advantage, there's a couple advantages for this kit, if you haven't heard us talk about it, is one, this eliminates all fuel starvation issues in any of the DAZA cars. We've seen it horribly in our TTRS and our RS3 at like 3/4 tank. It starts happening on track. Even on the street, it's terrible.
Yeah, you can't really launch the car below like I think a half tank or so.
So by using our surge tank, there's no fuel sloshing in here. This is full all the time, and the fuel pickup's down here at the bottom. So you can literally we've track tested this with like an empty tank.
Yeah, flashing empty light, and
you could have an empty tank back there, and you've got, you know, about 1 liter of fuel in here that you can use, but it won't start sloshing until this tank, you know, gets down to about a third,
and you're out of fuel at that point. So,
yeah, there's literally no fuel left in the car. So, if you want to show this,
hand model, yeah,
and then the other advantage is you're moving the fuel pump up to the engine compartment, so you're no longer flowing through all that line from the back of the car forward. And if you didn't know, line restrictions or any type of restriction is a certain amount of restriction over a certain amount of length. And so if you have an 8mm fuel line and it has X amount of restriction in 1 foot of line, well, if you make 10 feet of that line, your restriction adds up. It's times 10. So by moving the fuel pump, you now have a -6 or a -8 line going straight to your fuel rail, going straight to the fuel pump, and you've eliminated all that restriction. So not only do you get the benefit of a higher flowing pump, you get the benefit of essentially removing all the fuel line restrictions that you're dealing with. And so I've heard on some of these DAZA applications that there's like a 1 to 2 bar of fuel pressure is just being used to make up for the restriction in that line, which is crazy. So there will no longer be any restriction, and fuel starvation will be a thing of the past. So we've been working hard on this. There have been some delays due to COVID from some suppliers. We're having some really nice stainless steel banjo hard lines bent up because there's not a lot of room around this. And these banjo hard lines fit with a very low profile, and they fit in a tight space, and they're precisely CNC bent, so everything sits exactly where it needs to. There's no rubbing on lines and things like that at this point, and then everything goes to AN lines after that. So we're really excited for this product. We're shipping one out today to Awesome in the UK. Mm-hmm. Then they'll be testing on a really fast drag car over there. We're done testing it, but they'll be...
Yeah, we know it works.
They'll just be using it.
It's proven. It's just a matter of polishing up the kit.
Yep. So we're just finishing a lot of the little knickknacks.
Yes, and a return line does get added. This will fill to the point where it's then, you know, returning back to the tank. That's part of why this kit is pretty involved. Is you've got a lot of line to run.
Yeah. So this is the inlet from the tank. This is the return, because this is full of air. So the air has to get pushed out and goes back to the tank. And then this is going to the fuel rail and high pressure pump.
Yep.
So those are the 3 connections on here. And then there is also, for the E5LM, since this pump doesn't have a pressure relief, we've added a pressure relief valve here. So we've thought of all the little things that are needed. It's a great kit. We're really excited to release it.
But CU tuning for it, does the tuning need to accommodate this?
So I worked with Deechwork on this controller, and we have been able to develop a system that is, at this point, a drop-in compatible. We haven't changed any ECU tuning to accommodate that pump.
Yeah, so none is required, thanks to the work that Nate did with Deechworks. So yeah. So yeah, stay tuned. I wanted to release this product like 6 months ago. We've been talking about it for a year now, but
And it's a sorely needed product.
well, we've been testing it the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
We even we spared no expense. Even Nick, why don't you show these? These are just I love cool little hardware, but we made our own stainless steel banjo bolts because nothing on the market exactly
Yep.
did what we wanted. Really cool trick stuff, and we have the resources to make exactly what we need, so we don't have to depend on. We're not limited by what's on
Most
the
banjo
market.
bolts aren't going to flow what we wanted. These are undercut around the fitting, so you've got more
These are very high flowing.
volume around them.
Yeah, these flow as much or more than the equivalent AM fitting.
Oh god,
Oh,
man, we got table movement. We got
Jeez.
nuts.
All right, cool. So, anyways, that's that. Stay tuned. Amateur question: any prospect down the road to support E85 flex fuel on the DAZA tunes, or maybe the ability to easily flash without having to connect to a computer? We are working on various flashing devices and options for the future. So,
But flex fuel support, we keep coming back to this. Yes, it is something we're likely going to add. I don't have a time frame on it. We have a good way to add it. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff in the works right now. So yes, we are looking to add flex fuel to a lot of these platforms.
on a Mark 7R, what kind of alignment should I look for to make it a better street performance car overall and the occasional track day? So, that's a front wheel drive car, and generally on front wheel drive cars, you want to focus on grip for the front tires. So that would involve adding camber, which we have a number of camber increasing products for that.
And to be fair, that is an all-wheel drive car, but it drives a lot like a front-wheel drive car.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it does drive very much so like that. And then, when you start playing with performance alignments, typically the factory settings are just a little bit of toe in, which allows the car to track straight and makes the car very predictable. If you've ever never driven a car with toe out, it's terrifying and darty, and the car will not go in a straight line. So you just go down the like this. And I've driven race cars that were set up like that, and fortunately you don't have to go straight for very long in most race cars. But
And if you watch really close, a lot of like high-strung front-wheel drive race cars, you will see them wiggling down the front straight.
Oh, yeah.
On a lot of racing series.
Yeah.
That's due to those type of alignments.
but it can result in extremely fast and effective turn in and give you more grip on the front.
Yeah.
And then conversely, you can do toe out in the rear too, which is also freaking terrifying. But you go into a corner and those tires are pointed out so that the car will track aggressively.
Yep. And we do run different alignments for our track prep stuff versus our normal street driving. For just that reason, we do run more toe out. We're not toed out, but we're more neutral.
Yeah.
In the rear on a lot of our track setups, and it does dramatically change how they drive on track.
Yeah. We do performance alignments here at 034 Motorsport. We have a lot of customers that, they come in the week before their track day. We have records of what they like and what works for them.
Yep.
We align their car, and then they come back after. Typically, these alignments will result in accelerated tire wear.
Oh yeah,
That's why
it's just you pick your compromise. This
Yeah.
is just for handling characteristics and corner speed.
But a good alignment will completely transform the way a car drives, and it can go from being a disaster to world class just by what alignment settings you use. So, but I would say if you want to do anything, add camber. That's the one thing you can do with your alignments that gives your car so much more grip.
Tire wear, grip, tire temperatures, everything
Yeah.
gets a lot better. They need more camber to do any kind of track duty.
On track, if you add 1 to 2 degrees of camber, your tires will last substantially longer. What are your thoughts on DV spacers, diverter valve spacers,
Yeah, so that's what that is.
like the go fast bits stuff?
Drill some holes in it so that your recirculating system then vents to the air.
Yeah,
For annoying.
never run one. Yeah.
We've had requests for those types of products in the past, and I've said no, we're not doing that. So
It also very much depends on what car you're talking about. Some of these are metered air that they're dumping.
yeah,
So,
right.
no, we generally stick to the OEM.
Yeah, I don't recommend it, but you could try it out and see what you think if you're looking for extra noises. Go for it. But yeah, I don't think we'll be doing anything like that. I know there's some other products that like reinforce the bypass valve.
Yeah, the
or
GoFest
they
stuff has a little different method of
you
pressurizing
take
the
like
backside of the valve
you
to make
take
sure
the
it stays shut longer.
you take the piston off the electric one and you replace it with some billet thing, and it's supposedly better. I don't know. We've looked into those too. Let's see. We've had some questions on our brake rotors that have been aggregated here, so we'll kind of pound through those. So here, this is which one is this? R8. So this is our new drop-in R8 brake disc. This is the front, and it is 356 millimeters by 32 millimeters thick. I was just breaking the shit out of these on Friday, and the car, all our car has is, I think, Paget race pads, and I think we have good fluid. I think we run AP Racing fluid.
I think it was more. Yeah.
Okay, the RBF 660. And the R8 is like a car that if you put good rotors like this on with the proper airflow management, you don't really need anything else. Unlike most Audis, the car just brakes hard lap after lap after lap. We have front and rears for these. We are going to be doing a 380 mil version of this rotor with a bracket spacer, so you would be able to bump up to, you'd be getting another 25 mil or so of size. So you'll gain a little bit of mechanical leverage on the caliper as well with that. We should have that kit out in a few months, but you don't really need it. I know some people visually are looking for a bigger brake rotor, and so I think that's why we're doing it. But if you're just looking for really good brakes on your R8, this is all you need. And then run a good street pad or a track.
Well, I think that's part of the key too, is running a full. It's not just the rotor. You need the right pads and the right fluid to really make it all work together.
The fluid's key, because stock fluid will just boil. The temps are going to get higher. You need braking components that can withstand higher temps. So these rotors can withstand very, very high temps. Thanks to the metallurgy and construction. This is a full floating rotor design. And then we improve the airflow management over stock. There's these J slots that help vent pad gassing. So we now offer these rotors for the TTRS, for the RS3, the Mk7 Golf R. We'll have them out soon for B8 S4, B9 S4. There's even some of the SQ5 kids have been blowing us up. We might do that.
Nobody tracks those.
Yeah, well, there's been at least one that's been tracked. Will your discs last longer than stock? Yes, typically they will. Again, because of the floating design and the metallurgy. The problem with stock discs is they have poor airflow management. So if you don't know, good brake rotors are designed to cool themselves, and so our rotors have directional vanes, so they're not straight. Most factory rotors have straight vanes. That means that they're not that effective at creating a low pressure area in the inside of the rotor.
Yeah, these are basically big fans internally.
Yeah. There's a fan inside this rotor, and it sucks air from the inside and throws air out, hot air out. Now there's an issue with a lot of RS cars. Audi uses the same rotor from left to right. And so one side is pulling air appropriately from the inside and throwing it out, and the other side's sucking air from the outside, and it just kind of goes in the middle and doesn't go anywhere. There's not a good
Well, it's not
release
Yeah,
of
they're not
air.
designed to even flow that way. So
Yeah.
you know, the whole fan and fin design is.
The airflow is basically negligible that goes through the rotor. So we see this all the time where I think it's the right side it gets hotter and wears faster than the left. And of course, the pads melt faster, the brake fluid boils faster, and everything. So with our rotors, you get proper left and right, and yes, they will last longer. They won't warp, um, and a lot of some of the aftermarket and factory rotors, based on the metallurgy, they just start wearing really fast when they get hot. So these are a long-lasting solution, and then on top of it, we do sell the rotor rings, so you don't have to replace this. The replacement rotors are cheaper than buying the whole rotor, and the hat and the hardware doesn't. I think the new rings come with new hardware, but the hat doesn't wear. It's not a wear item, so you can use that as many times as you want. Does AP Racing make your discs? No, we have no affiliation to AP Racing. They have a trademarked J hook. That's what they're called. They're little slots. Ours is very similar to that. We're calling it a J slot. They haven't patented this shape.
It's not the same shape either.
It's not exactly
It's
the
a similar,
same.
design.
Yeah, but no, they are not AP Racing. Do I need to change the pads I use, or can I use stock OE pads? On the street, yes, you can use stock OE pads, absolutely. Honestly, I think that's what I'm not a big like proponent of like performance pads on the street. I
Right.
think factory pads are good, or get a good reputable OE replacement pad. Um, I don't really want a lot of squealing and brake dust on the street, but I'm a big proponent of run the right pad for the right use. And so when you go to the track, definitely put track pads in, because any factory pad, even RA ones, will melt after a couple laps of hard driving. So, but yeah, you can run any pad on these. Um, so I'm really excited and proud to bring these products to market. We've been looking for good brake rotors like this for 20 years.
Yeah.
We finally found a manufacturer that can make these rotors to our design and specification. Excited to bring such a big full line of products to market. We have been working with Giradisc for a long time. We are continuing to. We still sell their brake rotors on our website. They're a great option as well. But this gives us a little bit more control over the product, and we're here to offer our customers 034 Motorsport products. So they're brake rotors, right? So
Yep.
it's nothing new under the sun.
Yep.
How do they compare to Giradisc in quality and performance? Honestly, in my experience, they're the same or similar. Giradisc makes an excellent product that we've run for years. We've tested and pushed that product. Our goal was to bring something as good as theirs. I don't, to what degree is, splitting hairs. Like if we put both these, our rotor in there in a controlled test environment, which one would last longer? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
But as far as going to the track, beating the crap out of cars, braking hard, getting things really hot, our rotors are as good in our experience as what Giradisc offers. So, and it's Giradisc is using clearly the right metallurgy, and the rotors are designed properly not to warp. And that the hat and floating system is just a standard thing that like every manufacturer, everyone that makes floating brake rotors has basically the same basic parts. There's nothing real special there. There's typically the rotor ring rides on a pin, and then there's a spring that goes under the pin, and then the whole thing's tightened down. So as everything heats up, it can thermally expand. It can expand outward, and also it's floating slightly on the hat as well under that spring tension. So that's the same design that everyone uses, including us and Giradisc. Will you make them for the B8S4? Yes. We are working on it, right?
Yeah, B9.
B9 for sure. Yeah, no, I just took we took photographs of B8 last week. So cool. But yeah, no, I mean, that's why we go to the track. I would not sell these if these didn't hold.
Yeah,
if these
we've
didn't hold.
tested.
I would not want our name.
We've been testing these for quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we released our first ones like a year ago or last year sometime.
I don't know what our Greek rotors.
That's what I said. I said SQ5 kids. They're no, it's good. The SQ5, I don't know. The SQ5 needs a lot more brake. So
Yeah.
I don't know what if there's options for bigger rotors and things like that, but we'll have to look into that. Do you offer software to run an IS38 on a Mk7.5 GTI and a Mk7 GLI? Not yet. It's another thing that we're working on.
Yep.
We have a car here that we will be doing that. Yep. Frankly, I think for the Mk7, that's the best turbo option. I mean, maybe there's some of the hybrids that are versions of that, but a front wheel drive, GTI doesn't need 500 wheel. If it can be 400 crank, that's really usable power. That isn't going to just spin the tires. But so yeah, we definitely want to do that too.
Yep.
Do you have any updates on the 4.0 T mounts? I think are they installed? Yeah. So we are in the process of we have our new design. We had a problem with the old design, so we've corrected that, and those products are now going to arrive here this week. At which point we will immediately get them back into test cars. We're feeling good and optimistic about. There were some issues with the old design that we've corrected, and we'll be testing that for the next few months aggressively and on some pretty powerful cars to really push those, including one car here that gets daily driven. So that's encouraging, but it's taking way longer than we like.
Yeah, and it's one of these things. It's like as long as all this works as it should and our testing,
yes,
then we're going to be much further along.
Yeah,
very quickly.
But I know there's a lot of people that really want them, and
we know they're a problem. We know they're a sore spot for the factory mounts.
Yeah. What products fit on the Seat Leon Cupra 5F?
It's like a 2012. 5F is
supposedly. Yeah. I mean, a lot of MQB products should. We really need to.
Platform. I'd have to refresh on exactly that chassis number, but yeah, if it's MQB, a lot of the stuff will cross.
Yeah, we really need to update our website with the
international stuff,
the Seat and other stuff. Racing Line has all this information and data, so we need to add a new category to our website that people can.
Because there's quite a lot of crossover. On these platforms.
And then someone is asking C7 7.5 S6 Res-X. Yes, we are working on it. We're thinking May release. It's just getting manufactured right now, and it's on the way here. Our inventory or our first production run is on the way here. So yeah, look towards May. It's really nice. It's pretty subtle, but it's I don't know. We had a car that had like a $2,000 exhaust on it, and we put a stock exhaust with our Res-X on it. I drove both cars. Our $400 Res-X I think sounded as good as this aftermarket exhaust, and I don't think there was any difference in flow or power really. The factory exhaust flows well, so that's what I like about these Res-X products. I don't know if it was up to me, if I didn't have to spend $2 or $3 grand on an exhaust and I could get the same sound and performance for $150 to $400, I would go that route. So that's the idea with Res-X, and apparently a number of other companies thought it was a great idea too.
Yeah, it seemed to catch on.
Knocking off the idea and concept, but what are you going to do? We were the first to do it. All right. Are we out of time?
Yeah, we're pretty much. Yeah, we're within a minute here, so yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us once again for show number 50.
Yep.
And we should have done something special.
You guys were fine special.
No, no. I mean, they get us every week. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could send some people some t-shirts or something.
We were discussing one thing, that you find something specifically in the live feed
Oh, like an Easter egg.
that they get. So
Okay.
they will have had to have watched.
Okay. All right. Well, we can do something next week too. So, all right. Cheers, everyone. See you next week.